another video with myself, Rev.Arlene C. It is Tuesday, November 5th. What's been interesting is that for a few months now, I keep wanting to write 2025. So, whenever I make my journal entries for myself and just whatever, I always have to go back and change it back to 2024 because I keep jumping into 2025. And then the other day, I jumped to June 2025 instead of November 2025. So I don't know. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to come on today and I guess present a November energy update. Though I'm not even really sure what to call it. I've been going through a lot of, I'm not sure I would say transitions, but I've been integrating. Maybe that's a better word. I've been integrating a lot of specific energies and observations, I guess would be the better word to use. It's been a lot, and it's difficult to find words for. That is another reason why, too, it's been difficult for me to post a video or do much of anything, because I'm struggling to find a way to articulate and communicate what I'm integrating and what has been happening. But the one part that I can, or the few parts that I can talk about that I've found words for, I guess we can say, is the following. And I feel that this, again, is energies that will be a little bit more obvious, I guess we can say. They'd be a little bit more obvious for a while now to go, as we move in from 2024 to 2025 to 2026. This is more of what the energies, what God is calling in for ourselves to help us in our progress of evolution for ourselves, right, and growth. So, as I've said in many other videos, right, there's that aspect of always the biggest piece to our, I keep hearing the word salvation for ourselves, the way that we truly embody and embrace an aspect of what this human experience is for us, and that will help us transition, integrate, transform, transmute, do all those things, all those lovely words, right? Those buzzwords that constantly move around, is being accountable and responsible and taking accountability and responsibility for our role in our life, right? And again, I guess, as I've always said, and will continue to say, this isn't about blame. This isn't about finger pointing. This isn't about making yourself feel like shit or making somebody else feel like shit. This isn't any of those things. This is just about acknowledging and then deciding what you're going to do with that knowledge, right? It's about, we can't control what happens. We can't control how other people respond. We can only control how we respond and what we do with the information we're given, right? And especially about ourselves. Often we've been taught to look outside ourselves when everything starts from here, right? Everything starts from within. Everything is, even though the outside world may have had influence, it is still our own stuff that we need to open up and, kind of pull apart and see the different layers to it, right? It's not a simple A and B, right? It's most likely A, Z, back to A, and then crisscross to D and come down to F, and who knows, right? Like, it's all these different, it's not linear. It's not linear is the basic aspect of it. It's not linear. It's a lot of kind of seeing where these pieces have come together, right? So that's a big part, always, as we're moving forward in these energies. Something else is, again, there's another level of everything moving at such a fast pace. The energies, everything is just so fast. It's just accelerated extremely. And but yet at the same time, I was literally having a conversation with my cousin this morning. We went out for a walk, walking around the cemetery, and then just kind of walking around just town, whatever, with our coffee. And we were talking about that too, where it's just like everything's moving so fast. And back then, like a few years ago, if that was happening, most people would be in fear. But there's this amazing feeling of peace with it, or just that feeling of not having fear, because you're okay. God has you. Like, God's got your back. The universe has your back. Spirit, whatever you want to call it, has your back. As long as you can get out of the way and have faith and trust, and what's the word I'm looking for? It's it's to do with the expectations, right? Like, it's also understanding that, knowing that what's meant for you, what's the best for you, is always going to be present, but you need to let go of the expectation of what you think that is, and how it looks, and how it's going to come to you, right? So it's understanding that if you try to control it, which we all know control is an illusion, right? So if you try to, if you work on not controlling, being open to receiving, allowing it to unfold for you, then you see the path. And you start to make those little steps towards the path. And because you've let go of the need to control it and allow it to open up for you, it does help the flow in following those steps and kind of just seeing where it goes and follow the breadcrumbs. So that's another big part of it, where it's like, even though things are moving very fast, it's understanding to work on not allowing the fear to creep in, not to allow the anxiety to creep in, because often, another thing that was brought in conversation this morning, where it's like a lot of, especially with the English language, there's lots of words that sometimes get mixed together but don't have the same meaning, but people confuse them and give them the same meaning, right? So like suffering and uncomfortable are two different things, right? But people will sometimes put them together. Or, like I've always said, like hope, hope is one of those words where people have used it for so many years, but it still means a lot of doubt. There's still a lot of doubt. There's still a lot of uncertainty connected to hope. But if you have faith and trust, then it's totally different. It's a totally different level of energy. So it's looking at those things, looking again at the words you're using to communicate, because again, as we've said so many times, and I'm sure you've heard it so many times, words are spells, right? So it's very much about always being consciously aware, choosing every day to be conscious of the choices and words and thoughts and actions you take. So another part with the energy is also in this quick movement that's happening, and it's so fast. I'm finding too, like, things are just happening like instantly, right? Like, that's another crazy thing with the energy. It's just like boom, 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 thank you, ma'am, right? Like, it's just wow. You get that instant like gut feeling. It just hits you so fast, and that intuition is really amplifying too in us, where right away we can sense right away when someone is kind of trying to bullshit us, right? And it's not even so much them trying to bullshit us, it's just that it's back to that thing of like, who are you trying to convince, me or you? So it's like you realize that these people are and again, I don't think they're always doing it consciously. It's not like they're sitting there thinking, I'm going to lie to you, because I think often people believe their own lies, right? Or they believe it so much that they want it to be true. So there's that aspect where you just can tell that the words and the actions don't work together. There's something about it that just, makes your spidey senses go off. And I'm finding there's more and more of that happening, where it's like certain people, certain situations you're in, certain environments, it's like it's just so fast, just happening, and you're just like, no, I need to walk away from this. So it's about listening to that, and even in other ways, it's not always about something negative. It could just be too, when you're out for a walk, out for a drive, something's just telling you, you know what, I'm going to go this way, or I'm going to go this way, and just listening to it and doing it. You might not always get the why of why you had to do that, or why you were being pulled that way, but you just follow and you trust and you do. And maybe you will see the reason right away, and sometimes you don't, and maybe sometimes you never will, but that's okay. It's just about learning to trust that voice of your higher self speaking to you, telling you go this way, and sometimes too, it's like in going that way, this is what just came to me right now. I'm like, oh, I love that. I love when more information comes through as I'm doing these. So something they just told me is sometimes when they tell you to go a different direction, it's not because of a safety thing or anything. It's just that when you take that moment to trust and move forward, you are jumping and moving through a different timeline, or stepping into another dimension of sorts of your own consciousness, right? Like, because dimensions are just levels of consciousness. So you're moving into another level of consciousness. So sometimes just taking those steps and finding that trust and listening to your intuition and just moving forward, you're moving into another timeline. You just shifted something. I like that. That was so cool. Thanks, guys. Yeah. So those are the energies currently that are very strong that I'm feeling. It's already started like in October, but is more prominent now in November. And we're going to be noticing more and more of this, needing to integrate this more and more into our being, and having it part of the conscious awareness that we choose to live in for ourselves. Because again, we can't control what anybody else is doing. It's also about not letting ourselves get wrapped in to the distractions and the illusions and what they're trying to shove down our throats to listen to. It's really about doing your best to not allow yourself to get wrapped into that. And and just being true to you and taking that time for yourself, being in that quietness, that silence and that peace, and finding what that means for you. And understanding that, again, as I've said often to so many people, it doesn't need to be something that you do for like half an hour. You could just be a few moments of just closing your eyes and practicing your breathing. And that will reset you. It's like just, like I said, it's just little things, that do that for you. Stepping outside barefoot in the grass or on concrete, cement, whatever, doing that in your basement if it's too cold where you are right now, to be able to do that. If your basement is just concrete, cement, whatever, step on that and just take a few breaths. And that will help to, again, rewire everything and kind of reset you for the day and change your baseline, let's say, right? So now you have a new baseline where things start. I think that was it that I wanted to share today. Please let me know if this resonated with you, or if you have anything you want to add, or anything that you've been noticing and been experiencing. I always love to hear your feedback and just what you're experiencing. And that's about it. Love you so much. Surrounding you all in love. Till next time.